There's just way too much art advice, isn't there? Buy this, get that, do this, take that. But then you just find yourself drowning in advice and you don't really do anything with it anyways, do you? Welcome to the Art Mentor. My name is Sean and I want to help you filter out all the noise so that you actually take steps to be the best artist that you can. And to do that, y'all, you gotta watch out for these most unhelpful art tips like this. So regardless of what media you work with, I just want to ask you this. How many brushes do you need? What do you think you're gonna get out of that? Do you think that you're magically just somehow gonna stumble upon the perfect brush with the perfect setting? Or if you're even working physically, like just paying more for like a $30, $40, $50 brush is somehow gonna magically turn you into a pro artist? Do you expect to just turn out professional level artwork without the professional level workflow to associate with it? Because I see way too many artists that think that they need more brushes and more. I only ever use about 3 brushes and they're pretty much all the standard ones, and then I use texture ones just when I need to, and especially more towards the second half of any of my paintings. Now look, let's also evolve this. Do you think that you somehow need more equipment? Do you think that somehow you getting like a $2,200 ultra 36-inch display tablet is gonna make you a professional artist? No, it won't, friend, because you need to develop the skills, you need to develop the comfort level. So if you're thinking that, oh, I need to save up, or I need to get this or that, or I need to go out and source these things in order to be better, it's not gonna help, friend. What is gonna help is just you learning the fundamentals and you actually putting the time and effort into it instead of giving yourself the excuses of why you can't do it. Because you are not a tool, you are the artist. So make sure you recognize that. Now, I'm gonna try not to shoot myself in the foot on this one, but I gotta ask you this, friend. How many tutorials on art are you watching? And I just wanna be real specific on that. What is the split here? What's the ratio of how many tutorials you're watching, how much time you've spent watching your art tutorials, versus how much time are you actually putting in to actually making artwork? Now look, I love you watching my videos and all, but just to be real and honest with you, this is such a popular delusion. So many people are gonna think, especially like young artists, especially people that are just trying to be like a good sponge about their artwork, but they're just assuming that there's just going to be this osmosis effect where you are just going to soak up all of this information from all these different sources online, and somehow you are just going to just evolve. You're just gonna be like an artistic butterfly and just burst out of your cocoon magically, and you're just gonna be so much better because you absorb so much knowledge. But realistically, that's not gonna happen, because art is not just a set of knowledge, it's a set of skills and applied applications to it. What this creates is a really toxic cycle of what's called infinite looping, because here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna watch a bunch of art tutorials, then you're gonna try and make your own. Then you're gonna realize you have your shortcomings. So what are you gonna do to try and overcome that? You're gonna try and watch some more art tutorial videos. So instead of doing that, friend, here's what I recommend you do, okay? You gotta start to give yourself more projects on that. You gotta go ahead and actually come up with, if you're gonna be watching a lot of art tutorials, come up with a why. But don't just assume that because you have, 3,000 different videos on art in your playlist right now, that you're just magically gonna evolve into the version of yourself that you wanna be as an artist, because really what you're doing is you're trying to replace actual hard skills with knowledge, and that's just never gonna work out for you, friend. Now, I just wanna ask you, how long are you taking on your artwork, and would you consider yourself to be a slow artist or a fast artist, or are you somewhere in between the tortoise and the hare, okay? When I talk to a lot of artists that wanna get better, time always comes up. And I just wanna ask you, have you ever wished upon a star and asked for yourself to have more speed? Well, I want to challenge that for a second here, because honestly, you need to understand this, that speed does not equal quality, and just because you can go faster doesn't mean that you're learning anything, and definitely doesn't mean that you're getting better at it. Oftentimes, in fact, if you're just gonna force yourself to go super fast, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna make the same mistakes super fast, and your artwork's gonna still be flawed in an even faster way. So say you take 10 hours to make those mistakes, now you're gonna do it in an hour or 20 minutes or something like that. So instead of wishing for that, friend, here's what I need to let you know, is that especially depending on where you are in your art journey, or I would say even regardless of wherever you are on it, is that you just need to put in time. Like, you putting in the time to learning how to make the decisions that you make, why you make those decisions, is the most important aspect of your art making journey. And that journey is going to bear the best fruit for you. So don't think that somehow because it takes you 8 hours and you're still unhappy with it, is not a necessary endeavor, because it is, okay? You have to go through that process to earn the reward of it. So what you're learning how to do through putting in all that time is very important. And it's making micro decisions. So when you're watching the people that you really admire, that you look up to, that you wish you were, you got to understand they're making their decisions not because they're more talented or more gifted or anything like that. No, friend, it's just that they're making a plethora of micro decisions that they don't have to put as much thought into. But you're going slow because you're critically thinking about it, because you're learning it. But that's necessary, because you're never going to get to their state if you don't actually go through that process. Does that make you feel better about it? Tell me about it down below. Here's a major tip though. Although that won't work for you, here's what will. Hitting that like and subscribe button, because I love to help y'all just like this and give you real pearls of wisdom to help you fast forward your art career. And if you appreciate that, if you could definitely throw me some love down there, I appreciate you too. Let's keep it going. What's the point of references? Why do we have to get them? Well, here's the basic idea here, is that a reference should fill the gap in your knowledge. We all have these things called schemas in our minds, which is your mind's perception of how something looks like versus what it actually does. So what the reference does for you is it supports what you actually want to do. Now, here's the major drawback to references, is that your reference collection and how many you're getting and you're sourcing before you start a project or while you're in the middle of a project is limited to your ability level. So if you're in the camp of thinking, I just need to get more references, 10 references, not enough, 20 references, not enough, and 50 references, I still need more. All right, friends, slow down here. What I want you to do is just recognize this. At some point, you're really just procrastinating, and you're hoping that somehow that you can just get just a massive collection, like a tome of thousands of references, and this is somehow going to force you to evolve again into that artist that you want to be. But there's the problem with that, is that if you're not utilizing those references and understanding them through application rather than just a contextual understanding of them just as a knowledge source base, then it's not really going to evolve you. You're not actually going to make steps forward, because you're trying and you're hoping, you're trying to fool yourself here, because I know how you think about this, into getting more references that it's somehow going to replace your skill or fill in the gaps in your skill, but it's not. So here's what I recommend for your friend. Okay, I would say generally you want to get somewhere in the neighborhood of around 10 to 20 references before you start anything at all. And on that note too, y'all buying reference packs? Like why? Why are you doing that? There's so many great websites out there where people actually offer really outstanding high quality references for free. Hey, would you like to see a video on that? Tell me down below, because I'm happy to drop that for you too. I've always wanted to make that video, and if there's enough interest, I'm more than happy to share it with your friend. But just to be honest with you, the only reason you should really be buying a reference pack is if you actually need to use that reference pack within your actual artwork, or if it's something that's hyper niche and ultra specific. But otherwise, like, you can find all this stuff online. There's this thing called Google. You ever heard about that? Don't get caught up in this infinite loop of you thinking that you just are gonna evolve, you're gonna get better by getting more and more references. It's really just a stall tactic. Okay, so I know I just went off about references, but I have to slow you down for a second here, and I'm just really challenged on understanding why this is even still a concept in this current day and age. But are you not using any references, or have you heard people's advice to not use any references? Have you ever been told you need to draw from your imagination? That's not a good idea at all. Like, telling you as an art educational professional, as an art researcher, this is just a foolish piece of advice, because here's the thing, if you're trying to state that you're going to come up with something more imaginative, let's take a look at that. What's the root word of imagine? Image. And where do you get an image from? What you've seen. Here's a reality, y'all. You will never be able to imagine something that you have never physically seen. Even when you're trying to create something that's imaginative, what you're doing is you're piecing together pieces of different parts of the world, or scenes, or people, creatures, whatever you're making, and you're representing them, okay? You can't, and it is impossible to think that you will somehow create a better version of your artwork if you're not using some type of reference for it. And for the artists that you watch, maybe here on YouTube, or that you see and they just like, boom, crank out something amazing, here's what you want to think about, is that they've practiced and they've stored all that up here for so long that it just comes easy. Like, there are people that can just do a amazing sci-fi stuff. Why? Because they've exposed themselves to it and they've gone through this process and it's like ingrained up here. But just to be honest, artists of all ability levels use this. Like top performing artists that you've seen all over the world, they all use references, friend. So don't get steered away by somebody telling you that you're less than, that it's unprofessional, or that they snottily poo-poo upon it. If this is like your art school professor or whatever, just whatever, do it behind their back anyways. They're not gonna know. And at the end of the day, you want an awesome looking artwork that demonstrates the highest quality skill and effort on your part, don't you? So how are you supposed to do that if you don't know what the flipping thing looks like? It just doesn't make sense, right? Have you ever heard about this before? Because it just honestly drives me crazy. So you probably, right now, have some great goals, don't you? You have an awesome project, you're trying to make that game, you're trying to make those illustrations, or you want to work for this company or that company, or you just want to go ahead and launch your own store, right? And let me just ask you this. How long do you anticipate it's going to be before that actually happens? How long do you think you're going to need in order to get there? Like how long into the future do you think that's going to take you? Because another common trap I see people get told, and that they tell themselves too, is that they're just gonna need more time. Because here's the reality, y'all, is that the future always looks more comfortable, doesn't it? Like 6 months from right now, you're just like, man, 6 months from now, it's gonna be so much easier. In 6 months, I won't be in class. In 6 months, my job will be less stressful. In 6 months, this turbulent event with my family is gonna end. But I'm gonna tell you this right now, friend. If you're just waiting for more time to pass before you can start your art, before you can invest into your artwork, before you can invest into learning your skills and applying it, in 6 months from now, you're probably gonna be in the exact same spot. Why? Because you're wishing for a better future instead of trying to take those steps to make it. And look, I understand that things are coming up all the time, y'all. The thing about this, though, is that you need to learn how to work under restraint, because human beings, we literally always work better when we have a deadline. Think about it when you're in school. You got that deadline for that paper, you're gonna do everything necessary for it. And what does that come down to? Is priority. So if you prioritize what you're doing, then you're gonna make time for it. So instead of you putting things off, instead of you wishing for more time, instead of you thinking that you're too old or you're too young too, that's another big one too. If you ever struggled with that one too, and you just need more time, like magically years are just gonna pass and boom, you're just gonna come out of your cocoon, it's not gonna happen. So start to make the time, don't wish for the time. Does that make sense? I'm gonna approach this next topic with a little bit of sensitivity, and I want you to please hear me out on this, all right? Because whenever we tackle the subject of self-care, I just want to put it out there that I think it's drastically misunderstood. And when applied to artists, I just want to ask you this. Are you seeking self-care, or are you seeking self-distraction from what you actually want and need to do? And what's hard about this to me is that I think that self-care is a real necessary thing, and you should take care of yourself and your inner well-being, okay? However, though, this concept has been drastically distorted away from the real crises that people are actually dealing with, and it's honestly just been used as an excuse. So are you just constantly making excuses for why you're not making more artwork, or why you're not building your skills or doing something meaningful because you need self-care time? I just want to ask you this, friend. How is you playing 8 hours a day of Baldur's Gate 3 really self-care? Like, honestly, you have an addiction at that point, and there's so many different types of addictions. I could do an entire video on it if you want, like what artists are addicted to, and if that interests you, please tell me about it down below. What I want to let you know, friend, is that actual self-care has nothing to do with you just giving in to the vanity desires of what your body wants, and it feels like it wants at the time. Because honestly, whatever you think you want, your body's going to respond to that. True self-care is the pursuit of meaningful things that are actually going to guide you towards a greater future. And that has to do with a little bit of what's called discipline. And I know that that's a pejorative to a lot of people. People think and associate, discipline is like punishment. But honestly, true discipline is a form of you loving yourself. That's you actually taking a rest when you need it. It's actually you putting in efforts into things that you feel good. Because I'm gonna promise you this, friend, the biggest hole that you're ever gonna feel in your life is when you feel the regret of you not actually taking the steps and pursuing what you're actually passionate about. And if you're an artist, you are stupidly passionate about art and creating things, aren't you, friend? If you are constantly sleeping, or you're eating like crap, or you're going out partying all the time, you're not practicing self-care, you're practicing avoidance. Have you ever fallen into this? So have you ever taken art courses before? Have you ever been to art school? What were your teachers like there too? And how did you get what you wanted out of it, or how did you not get what you wanted out of it too? And this brings up the topic of there's a lot of artists that think that they just need to do that. They need to pursue another degree, or they need to go to that art school, or they need to fly over there to go to that better art school, or they need to take that course, they need to take that class, they need to take that Gumroad channel. And that's what's gatekeeping their maximum potential. I gotta let you know, friend, that is not really the case. That is not really going to get you where you want, because this is just a delayed launch tactic. And if you've fallen victim to this, let me know, because I know many people have too. And this is honestly what creates that infinite loop we talked about earlier. And most people will think that if they just watch more and more and more, and they take more and more and more, and then they seek out more and more and more different educational sources, that they're suddenly going to get better. But it's not, because your education, friend, coming from somebody that's a professional in this, let me just tell you, self-education is king. You actively learning about the things that you're interested about. And here's another concept too. Start to focus on what you're not good at. All too many artists only focus on the things that they are really good at and their best interests are. So instead of that, do that too, but also start to look at the things that you're not great at. Perhaps you only like to do grayscale. Start to learn about color. Do you not do backgrounds in any of your artworks? Okay, let's learn that. Do you really suck at doing people and characters, or one gender or the other? Start to invest into that. Your self-education is going to propel you so much more than someone else's curriculum, okay? So don't think that you going to a place, you doing a thing, you taking that course, you being introduced to the other person, in person or digitally, is somehow gonna magically propel you to the future. Only you can do that. One of the largest art myths that I need to bust with a sledgehammer is this idea of more practice. How much are you practicing? How many hours are you practicing? How many times are you practicing? How many sketchbooks do you have? Okay, I gotta punch some holes into this logic for a few reasons. First off, I do have to preface it with this though, friend. You do need to practice. Like if you're not practicing, if you're not actively laboring towards being a better artist, nothing's gonna substitute that for you whatsoever. But here's the problem with more practice, is that most people are just using practice as a means to get to their comfort level or to slightly expand their comfort level, and they actually don't do anything with it. So y'all that do 100 hand poses or like 3,000 blocks, what are you doing? Like, unless you are specifically going to be a abstract block artist, like it's not really gonna help you at all. You see that, friend? So instead what you wanna do is focus on doing more projects, because here's why. What you wanna do is, instead of just you practicing or you just sketching, it's kind of like this. Imagine that you built homes, okay? And that was your profession. But all you did when you built homes was you laid a foundation, and then you put up the framing, and then you just handed your homeowners their keys and said, here you go, here's your house. And they look at you and be like, man, you suck. I'm gonna sue you and get my money back, right? So that's the thing. Y'all that are just sketching this out and you never push it past a certain level, that's all you're doing. You're just getting to the edge of your comfort zone and you're not pushing it. Instead of that, like if you're gonna get better at female anatomy, okay, design some projects, make some characters on that. If you're trying to get better at landscapes, don't just sketch it all out and then just do that 1,000 times and leave it at that. Actually paint them out, or paint them in grayscale if you're not good with color yet, but eventually get to that point. What you need to do is you need to push all the way. I see all too many artists start a race and then they stop a quarter to halfway through instead of finishing the dang race. And that's what you need to do, friend, because you are going to grow and you are going to run circles around everybody that keeps on stopping right at the edge of the comfort zone, because you have to allow yourself to go all the way in order for you to get yourself to your maximum potential. It's not going to come from just you doing hundreds and hundreds of practices, although that will help, but you have to limit yourself. Just do a few and then use it for your project, okay? That's really how practice works. See that? So you want to be the best artist that you possibly can, and you're trying to figure out how, and you just feel like maybe there's some little tip, some little trick, so some more stuff that you could be doing. Well, y'all, I made an entire video right here to help you out and let you know all these pro secrets. They're going to help you get discovered and help you stand out from the crowd. Go check it out.